Let's talk about what's going on with Bitcoin this morning, because this is the day, folks. I honestly think this is kind of like the day where Bitcoin finally, in some ways, comes out of the shadows and really enters the public square. Yes, millions of people invest in Bitcoin. Yes, even people that you might not think invest in Bitcoin. But the fact that a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund is launching today, a futures fund, changes the game, changes everything, in my opinion.
Right. So the new fund is called BITO, BITO, right? And we want to make sure that you understand what an exchange traded fund is and why this legitimizes Bitcoin.
It works.
Because it doesn't necessarily mean that now new investors are going to own Bitcoin. Absolutely, they won't. An exchange traded fund is much like a mutual fund. It's a collection of things all inside one ticker, right? And so if you own, let's say, a mutual fund based on green stocks, you own whatever the mutual fund managers are investing your money in, a pool of money, right? You then pay taxes and pay fees every time they make a trade. Exchange traded fund works much the same way, it just has much lower fees. So nobody who buys into this will own a coin. They will own futures based on Bitcoin that the fund managers buy and sell, right? So do we have here, if you want to pull up the prospectus of this?
I couldn't get a PDF into the thing.
Never mind. But the thing is, Bitcoin investors don't care much about this. They don't want to own BITO. This is for newbies who want to kind of put their toe in the water and see how this performs. But Bitcoin investors are excited that it exists, right? Because it kind of puts off the people who are like, is this just a fun game that, crypto enthusiasts do? No, now it's traded on the New York Stock Exchange.
And also this morning, we should mention, as a sidebar note on this, that Ethereum is about to have their ETF futures approved, nipping on the heels of Bitcoin. It's not far off, according to Coinpedia. The Star Crypto is the talk of the town with its near all-time high, growing adoption and approval of futures ETF. So they're hoping for more of a spot ETF, not just a futures, so they would actually have closer to the actual coin than they would. I remember our favorite accountant, Tom Wheelwright, saying, when he was asked about real estate, right? You can become a real estate investor, you can buy real estate, you can invest in real estate, the actual thing, right? And there are things called REITs, right? Real Estate Investment Trust, REITs. So very often people would say, well, shouldn't I just invest in a stock REIT? Like, why instead of real estate? It's easier, right? I can just go to, TD Ameritrade and just invest in a REIT, right?
Right, you could. It's kind of like, I hate to use this term, but it's like for dummies. You don't want to do the research yourself. You don't want to follow Bitcoin every day. And for some people, that's good for their mental health. They should not follow the charts like this, right? Clayton can take it. Not everyone can.
Right.
So if you invest in a fund in this way, you don't have to. You sort of set it and forget it, because this type of investing, it's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market, right? So for people who want to invest this way, it's great. For someone who is interested in actually timing the market, it's a very different animal.
Right. And so if we look at, this morning, if we look at Bitcoin price right now, it's at 62,000 on CoinMarketCap, 62,681, up even this morning when we put in the newsletter together, it had just crossed 62, but then dropped back down to 61. So heading towards its all-time high at 64,000.
Yeah.
This thing continues to go. And, I saw a couple of people yesterday saying that it's likely to hit 100,000 before the end of the year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, $100,000 Bitcoin.
I just find this I'm so excited about it. I'm all at Twitter just because I like the idea of legitimizing, obviously, a coin, obviously the sort of grand poobah.
Well, yeah, a currency, that brings hope to millions of people.
Yeah.
That's sort of the underlying thing here. That's one of the reasons why we cover it on the show, is that when we look at the U.S. government that's printing money like it's going out of style, right? $28 trillion in debt. And I often use the joke about, the Monopoly money board the Monopoly card, if you bring it up, that says, the bank, what happens if the bank runs out of money? in Monopoly. Well, guess what? The bank never runs out of money. Just grab slips of paper and write down additional money for your Monopoly game.
I have done that.
And we have done that, right? So they can just print money as much as they want. With Bitcoin, you get 21 million. That's a finite number of coins, right? That's it. No more can ever be printed or created. Like, that's it. It's a finite number. And it brings hope to millions of people around the world.
Well, and does the banking system work like, so you know how the banks can loan out about what, 10? Well, now there's no limit. It used to be like 9 times what they had. But if they can loan out unlimited amount, if they can loan out unlimited of what they have, isn't that in a sense them being able to print money? Because let's say they released more. If every bank got together and they released more than the Federal Reserve has even printed that is in circulation, then what happens? Like, they can do that, right? Because there's no, they're not like, they don't know when they're loaning out this money how much money is actually in circulation that they can loan. So that's like overinflated anyway.
And by most estimates, the amount of money that exists in the American economy is 96% a belief system. That means for all the money that we buy, sell, and trade in banking transactions, only 4% exists in currency. And that is shocking, right?
That's amazing.
So then it is an agreed upon belief system that you and I have, that David, I paid you into your account and you believe that those numbers have value, right? And you take that money and you spend it somewhere else and someone else believes that those numbers have value. But almost none of that money ever exists in like physical form.
Well, and I'm reading it.
Well, this exists.
22%.
I'm just saying like things that exist.
Right.
22% of the US dollar that's in circulation was printed in 2020.
Right.
Oh my God. Where did you find that?
Yeah, we did it on the show, right? We did it on the show a few months ago. But most of the money that we are using now is printed within the last year. Like, think about that. That you think that the United States currency system is sustainable? Again, if you have your future tied to the U.S. currency, the U.S. dollar, I say you need to get your head examined, and I really mean it. Like, you really need to get your head examined.
I like to think about this idea of money as a shared belief system, and then look at what's happening with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin now is also a shared belief system that everyone, Bitcoin came from a white paper. Like, one person said, theoretically, this could happen, and it started to happen. And people believed it. It was like a call to arms, right? And so, absolutely, everything you think about money matters 100%. It matters because we have created a digital currency based on shared beliefs. It matters because your paycheck that's direct deposited has to be based on a belief system. So be careful with your thoughts about money. They absolutely make a difference because it's an energetic currency before it's anything else.
There's a great book on this actually called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. I forget the author, but this is, a lot of people share like different wealth creating books, like, what is it? The Automatic Millionaire, or one of my favorites of all time is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But there's a book called Happy Pocket Full of Money. And
it's by David Cameron Gagandi.
Gagandi, yes, Gagandi. And have you ever read it? Or you just did the good Google search for us?
I did a Jamie for you.
Thank you.
Can you slap that up in real time?
It is an amazing book. How would you describe that?
Yes, I think that what I just said is a good sort of regurgitation of his theory, is that everything you believe about money, it's, very much like The Secret and what New Age thinkers believe, but he's an economist. And when you really realize that so much of money that you think that you're chasing doesn't exist, and that your belief systems matter, I do think that it changes. For me, I feel like it changed a lot of how I deal with currency and how I think about currency as a result of my energetic direction.
Richard Blackstone says, I've read it and it's fantastic.
Oh, great.
All right. Good.
Book club.
Yeah. Good book club. So again, BTF.
Beto.
We should call it BTF.
Beto,
BTF.
Beto, Beto.
Bitcoin ETF launching today, Bitcoin futures. And again, it's it's 3 steps removed from the actual asset itself. You just need to remember that. If you're thinking like, oh, I'm excited about investing in this ETF, you're not actually holding the coin. You're not actually owning Bitcoin. You're multiple steps removed away from the actual asset itself. And
but you are legitimizing it. You're in the game, right?
Yeah.
You're in the arena. You're not on the stage.
And I think I'm more considerate of why this is bigger. This is fantastic for the larger cryptocurrency ecosystem and how it's an empowering moment for so many people. And it really legitimizes these coins. So that's my thought on that.
Beto, B-I-T-O, reminds me of when the Minions, like when our kids play Minions, they're like, Beto, Beto. So maybe we should get a sound effect for that, for whenever we talk about this.
Okay.
If we talk about it a lot more.
Thanks for subscribing to the channel. You can also become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join, where you can stick it to the mainstream media and support independent journalism. We're able to bring you the stories that you won't see on any of the major billionaire-backed networks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone.